And it's if we look at the history of humanity and we look at the fact that the Catholic Church and the Christian Church and even the Jews became censors to the previous cultures, which were sexual worshipers. They worshiped sex, they worshiped the male phallus and the female genitalia, as we saw with the dome of the Capitol building, and you see the obelisks. But as I was observing Orion, I noticed with what is supposed to be his sword here, I thought it looked like a rooster, and I thought of the etymology of the cockerel. We'll try and keep it as clean as possible, and its representation of the phallus. And I started looking into that, and it turns out it's the oldest etymology known of the male phallus is the word cock or cockerel. And I was looking at this, and I'm like, that is not a sword. That is a male phallus representation. And if you think of the older representations or of Osiris, he's shown a lot with a fully erect phallus. And I started researching the ancient phallus worshipping cultures, and what I found is that these cultures came from the Deep East. They came from Asia. There's some really good stuff out there to research, but they have male phallus worshipping festivals in Japan. They have them in New Zealand. You also have male phallus sculptures found in Mongolia, China, and the earliest known Homo sapiens that came to Europe would had representations of the male phallus, and they even had flutes, which may have been representations of the phallus. Musical instruments carved from reindeer or whatever they were, deer antlers. So I started looking into this representation of the cockerel, and what I found was something really interesting. And we have on the island of Delos, which was considered to be the island of Dionysus, and that is the birthplace of Artemis and of Apollo, who's also a representation of the sun god. What we have here is a direct link between phallus worshipping, which was desecrated either by Muslims or Christians, and you have the phallus, which was desecrated, which you see everywhere. Even the Catholic Church with the Greek statues would take a fig leaf and have them placed over the phallus, or in the Renaissance paintings they would have them painted over. And so you can see this clear censorship as if they are afraid of humanity rediscovering its origins and its comfort level with sexuality, because in America it is definitely an uncomfortable subject, any sort of sexuality, and it has been extremely censored by the church. However, we are seeing that start to go away, and as the church has lost much of its power, I believe personally that there has been a secret war happening between the Jews and the Catholics, and we have started to see a lot of the censorship die down. However, there's a great movie or documentary that I recommend everyone watch, and it's called "This Film Is Not Yet Rated," and it's about independent filmmakers' views on a lot of independent filmmakers are you've got a lot of homosexuals who have made movies that show sexuality in a different light than is typically accepted in a movie, and that gets the NC-17 rating, and it's a great movie. But here's the spoiler alert: is that at the end they find out who the people are involved with the ratings agencies, and it turns out you have two members of clergy. You have one Catholic and one Episcopalian, which is basically another Catholic. And so you have direct connection between the church and censorship of sexuality in America. I mean, it's different in Europe, but in America we're heavily censored. But yeah, here is that representation, and you have the direct connection of the cockerel with the phallus worshipping. If we go over here, here's that same image, and here's an image of Mercury or Hermes, and once again he has the cockerel, and perhaps this paintbrush. The paintbrushes here are actually representations of the phallus. However, this is probably a Renaissance painting, and it was censored, and so the artist found a way to include that into the image without being obvious. So, but once again, here we have the cockerel and its connection. Once again, here, this is an ancient pagan worshiping, I don't know, hand or whatever. But the reason I chose this is, once again, you have the image of the cockerel here, and you have the image of the pine cone, which most people know is a representation of the pineal gland. And here is another connection. You have the cockerel with the phallus connection. So there we are. And a really interesting connection here is the CERN Abyss Giant, and they just recently brought his phallus back into commission here. But if you look at him, he's got the club in his right hand, left to us, and this is something that has been deleted. This is actually a representation of, I think, the lion skin of Orion. And so when we look at this, this is clearly his phallus. This is clearly the club in the same hand, and then you have the lion skin. If we go back to Stellarium, you can clearly see Orion with his club and lion skin. So I think that's pretty obvious that is Orion, and you have it once again here with his club. An interesting point here that I would like to make, go back to Stellarium, that I just found interesting. I don't know if it's true or not, but if we take away the artwork of Orion, we can see that Orion doesn't have a head, or he doesn't have legs. And if you look at the old or the representation of the skull and bones, it's the completion of Orion. You have the skull, and you have the two femur bones to complete the leg, or the legs. And the Knights Templar believed that their burials, all that needed to be present was their head, the skull, and the two femurs in the cross, and they just put it in a little box, and they believed that's all they needed for ascension, to become one with Orion. And we can clearly see the giants in the ground. I think the Freemasons have a culture that goes all the way back to building the megalith structures, including in Nazca. I think they built. I think they built the Tiwanaku there in South America. Just unbelievable construction there. Even in the blocks, they have chiseled out little hollowed out dovetails for where they poured in liquid metal in order to create some sort of staple to hold the blocks together. It's just unbelievable the ability they had, and they are the builders, they are the travelers, they are the dominion of our true history. And I believe we're seeing it is a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a feeble attempt by the Catholic Church, I believe the Mormon Church, to keep this from coming out, and even the Jews, I believe, are involved in keeping the Phallus and the Orion worship down, because the origins, if you look into the origins of Judaism, they were even Phallus stone worshippers, which evolved from the East. And you have the lingam stones of the Indians in actual India. Let's see if I can look that up real quick. And you have this in all the Hindu worshiping. See, I don't know if I spelled it right. Let's see here. Oh yeah, there it is there. And this is also, I believe, to be an evolution of the phallus worship. And I believe you even had, I think it's Jacob, who poured the oil on the stone and the Bethel stone, and you just have all these connections to phallus worship, and then it all comes back to obelisks and whatnot. So, I've always seen the obelisk representing the phallus, and then you always, but the solar explanations always made more sense to me. But now I'm starting to put the two together, and how the solar worship and the sexual worship came together, and we can see it here in the constellation Orion. Now here is the grand finale, and if we change the view here, and we get rid of our historical map, and we zoom in on Orion's phallus, what we have here is the Orion Nebula, which is the breeding ground, the fertile ground of stars. And I've just become, I've just learned about the Starscream, his research with the Orion Nebula, and how he believes all this is all connected. And I just, when I first looked at it, I was like, come on, man, are you serious? But the more I look at it now, I am extremely intrigued, because there it is, the Orion Nebula and the phallus of Orion. How do they know this fertile ground in space was here? And I believe that represents, I think that is the key to joining the sexual worship with the solar worship. And the fact that they knew this information just blows your mind, and really makes you come to some conclusions that things are not as they appear. And we'll leave it at that. So appreciate all you guys watching this, and thank you for your time.